This is now the strongest Volkswagen in their whole lineup, the new Touareg V8 TDI. Let's fill you in with the power details and also a quick tour. And in this case, we start directly with the engine. This one here is the 4-liter V8 TDI, so it's a turbo diesel. 422 horsepower and 900 Newton meters of torque. So at the moment, this one is the strongest stock engine you can buy at VW. The acceleration figure is 4.9 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And 4.9 seconds, you might remember, this is also the acceleration figure of the freshly presented T-Roc R. Volkswagen will only build it in smaller numbers, but what else is different besides of the engine? Well, it directly comes in a higher trim. You can pick 2 different high trim levels, and then optional, you can put this one also on the car, the so-called R line. This is a sporty design trim. This is also an option for the V8 TDI, and it adds some more sporty features like a stronger front bumper, for example. You also get 19-inch rims as for standard. Those ones here are the bigger optional 21-inch rims, also in a black shiny design. Also with the R-Line, with the black mirror caps, also the black frames here around the windows, so definitely a more aggressive design as for this one. And it also comes with an air suspension as standard, so again, get some more extra equipment already included. But then again, the price is also way higher here for the V8 TDI. And taking a look here at the rear perspective, it's really interesting as the R-Line also adds this black, well, somehow wing in the very rear. The new generation of the Touareg is definitely defined by the different styling in the rear because it has more horizontal drawn tail lamps. They look way more modern, so the design change in the rear was actually a bigger step if you compare it to the previous generation. Well, the V8 TDI has some bigger exhaust pipes, and the outer tip here is a chrome beauty one. But if you take a look at it up close, there is a dissolve from the real exhaust pipe to the outer tip. So I think we can accept that as for our fake exhaust rating today. Or what do you think? Talking about satisfying door closing sound, I think there are 2 unique ones. First ones, those old school ones, like we know from the Mercedes G-Class, and then very refined modern ones, like we have here. I'm not sure if you can pick it up here with the sound also at the motor show, but this is a really satisfying door closing sound. Well, the Touareg is the top of the line SUV model. If you want to compare some SUVs, we also have a big Volkswagen SUV comparison episode where we went for all of their SUVs. But here you can already see in the interior, for example, also soft touch at the inside of the doors, then some leatherette covers here at the armrest. This is all about premium materials. However, we've also seen on the R-Line on the exterior a lot of glossy black hues. It's also the same here on the interior. You know, Brian and me, we are both not the biggest fan of those glossy black elements. Are you? Well, as long as they're clean, they still look good. But I more prefer some matte materials. However, especially here for the Touareg, you can, for example, also get some matte wood inserts. So here the top dashboard is also soft touch material. They also have a contrast stitch right there. The R-Line also has this sporty inlet. This is aluminum style. As I said, for the Touareg in general, you can also get some matte wood inserts here. I would prefer in this case, but of course it looks a little bit more conservative then. The R-Line also gets a steering wheel with a flat bottom and white contrast stitches on the inside. The V8 in general only is available with animal skin seats. That's of course sad that they don't offer any alternative. Also, those seats here are the same. Well, they're getting there step by step, also the premium manufacturers, to offer some more alternatives, but here in the Touareg, not yet so far. Now let's get inside. It's a very easy entry. I always like this transition between the door sill there and the floor. This is basically, an even area. This is very, very interesting. Well, you have, on the one hand, a lot of room here, but then again, the cockpit is built in a rather sporty style just around you. So we had that also in our comparison that in the Tiguan, for example, you have a more open seating experience, although it's the smaller vehicle. When I have the seat here at the lowest position, 1.86 m or 6'1", still have some headroom left. This one is here also equipped with a panoramic roof. If you leave that out, you have some more headroom. Then soon more deals to those big screens because they're also included here in the Touareg. So far, the most annoying thing about driving the Touareg was this lane keeping assist, which was very artificial in how it felt while driving. They now had some updates on there on the software side, and now it's really better because before, especially when you had some higher speed motorway riding, it was directing you, but in a most artificial way. It didn't feel good. But since the update, this has definitely been improved. Well, then what would be the reason to go for the V8? To have the pure power, of course. At the same time, when you have this big car, you would need a diesel to keep the consumption, in a acceptable region, because when you put the big petrol engine in this vehicle here, then the consumption will go even higher and further, of course. And this V8 diesel, you can also drive it in a very calm way, just with the very low RPMs. And, at the end of the day, I'm not really sure if it will even use more fuel than the V6 diesel. We have to see about that when we do a full driving test of this V8 diesel. Also looking forward to that. So it's a little bit dark here as for the screens at the moment, but you can see this setup here for the V8 diesel is you always get the full digital instruments. You can also go with lower specs with a normal Touareg, but this one here is the top setup here for the V8 diesel. It's a 12-inch screen on the left and a 15-inch on the right, and then it dissolves into one big unit here. The advantage is you're more flexible. You have a lot to discover here when you use 2 fingers, or also you can use this wiping gesture that sometimes work and sometimes not. So 2 fingers to switch between the main screens and 1 finger then to switch in a single screen right there. This is a huge map right there, really impressive to see, especially with the satellite view. If you go for the smaller infotainment system with a normal Touareg, the advantage is it's an easier system to use. You have less flexibility, but then also you have less things to care about basically. On the left side with the digital instruments, well, you're also flexible because you can have the GPS map in there. It's not fully functional here, but we've seen it also in our full Touareg review if you're more interested in the details. So again, here with the top spec you automatically get, but I would also maybe even go to make it simpler just for a base Touareg and also with the base screens. Or what do you think? There are the driving modes. You also have that when you don't have the air suspension. The V8 always comes with air suspension standard. You can have an off-road mode here, for example, that puts the car a little bit higher. The right side, if you just want to change the height. A video wouldn't be really proper on Autogefühl if we would not take a look at the rear compartment right here. And well, you have of course enough room also for taller adults, also knee room wise and also headroom wise, no problem at all. But then the package of the car is not the best, considering it's already a 5-meter long car. Then we could maybe also expect some more clearance here at your knees, but you see that the seats are pretty thick. However, you have a good upright seating position here in the rear. You can also change the angle of the seats. Well, this one would be too much probably, but you can also have it all the way leaning back or just in the middle. This is also then the function. There's a lever right there to flip the seats from here. You can see it right here on this side here too, this lever to flip the seats from here. You can also do it from the trunk. Again, upright seating position here. It's one of the most comfortable seating position, more comfortable in the usual big sedan, because you also have the high upright seating position here in the rear. Then some cup holders right there, ISOFIX at the outside of the seats, and option if you want to go for that. There's also the full climate unit for the rear, right and left, so 4-zone climate AC, also with seat heating. Well, you get some more extra equipment with the V8 TDI, yes, but not everything, so you can easily also pump it way than 100k plus. And a short look at the trunk, because even if you go for the top spec V8, you want to transport some things for sure. You have a lot of room right there, you can already see it. And if we take some measurements in the width, well, you can use both of those side gaps here, and if you really use them, then you can even get about 130 in meters in width. However, the normal full width here in the middle, from rail to rail, this is then just over a meter in width. And you see it has this dropping line here in the rear part, so the lowest point just above the roof, this cover here is 45 centimeters. It goes a little bit higher than right there. And the normal trunk length is just also over a meter, just approximately. You might wonder if you can fit a replacement tire in there. It's possible. There's enough space right there. And with the air suspension that comes standard with the V8, you can also lower the car just a little bit. There are some buttons right here in the trunk, and you can press them then, and then the car goes a little bit lower, that you can easier load things in and out. Flipping the seats, at the moment there are also other people in the car, but you can actually do it right here with those handles. You pull them and then they flip. And how that one looks like, again, check out our full SUV comparison episode where you have even more impression of the luggage area. One thing or one test I really like to do always, because of the child safety, is hitting those hatches, then see how sensitive they are in the torque appliement. And this is, in this case, well done. So this is quite safe, even if someone gets in between there. And look at that, really nice that the cover here automatically slides down together with the closing hatch, and then also goes up again if you want so. There's no one in the car right now, so let's flip those here. And one trick also for me is, you can do it with any car. At the moment you can see it hasn't flipped automatically all the way, but if you don't have a microphone in the hand, and of course there's a reason I have the big microphone, because it's better sound for you here with a lot of background noise. So here now we pull them all the way tight to the lower end, and you can load things through easier. Well, the trick is always, when you have both hands free, then use both of those levers here at the same time with right and left hand. It has a higher chance than for every vehicle that the whole bench flips down completely altogether automatically. Here at the Geneva Motor Show, everything is about electrification. Or well, not everything. The V8 TDI is not. But you know, what about that? At the moment, there are different directions going on in the automotive industry. Of course, the mega trend is definitely electrification, autonomous driving, digitalization. But let's talk about that with the VW executives. You know, also at Volkswagen. On the one hand, they have, for example, an electric buggy right here. On the other hand, a V8 TDI. How does it fit together? Frequent guest on Autogefühl is Jürgen Stackmann, Head of Marketing and Sales at Volkswagen. And I want to know from you, 219 now and Geneva Motor Show, everything electrified. Where's the automotive industry heading? What are the mega trends at the moment you see?
Well, I think it's heading into a fantastic direction because for the first time I feel, and I'm in the industry for 30 years, that we are really innovating. It is not more of the same. It's actually, we're really changing concept works, concept thinking. The car behind me, I think, shows where this brand is moving. Volkswagen will be electric. This is clearly our mega trend. We're changing our factories. We're changing our footprint. We are committing as a brand to the Paris Accord 2050. It's almost unheard of to really produce zero-emission vehicles. Basically for the streets for everyone. That's a big trend. But I think the diversity is another big trend. It's not only one direction. We see actually at the same time this industry is still producing, I think, fantastic vehicles for the hearts, for the minds, lovely driving machines. So I think the industry, I think, is a peak point of innovation, and I think people are in this industry feel this now, and I think Geneva is a great place to actually look into this industry.
Yeah, talking about this variety, I mean, this is the electric buggy. But there's also, we've just seen it, the V8 Touareg still, the V8 diesel, yes, and the T-Roc R 300 horsepower petrol engine. So this couldn't be more different, right?
No, I think we're still a car brand that actually sort of loves cars. And I think these two extremes just show actually what's happening at Volkswagen at the moment. Actually, no, we are moving into V8 on Touareg. I'm driving a Touareg myself. I think it's a world-class premium car made by Volkswagen, and the V8 is topping the offering. It's one of the very few remaining V8 diesels actually in the marketplace. Basically, I think it's the, I would say, the extreme of what Volkswagen people can do to cars. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful driving machine, and those who have one will love it. They will probably keep it forever. It's like the original Touareg V10. It's kept forever. People never sell these cars. So the V8, I think it's one of the cars to have for the future. And tomorrow we're showing the T-Roc. It's the car that actually I think is a symbol of a new generation of cars. Very sexy. I think well positioned, very looked after. The T-Roc basically sold out in Europe now. 200,000 cars sold since launch. And T-Roc is the icing on the cake. 300 horsepower. 400 Newton meters of torque, 4.9 seconds 0 to 100, and it shows that car driving is everything but boring. Obviously, with these machines, it's going to be sort of accelerating, but the diversity, I think, is what we can offer.
So how long do you think will it still go on that we have like electric vehicles and the combustion engine in parallel? And when are we fully electric? What do you expect?
I think it's hard to predict to say the point where actually we go fully electric. As we as a company subscribe to the Paris 2050 Accord, it basically suggests that basically by 2040 is the end of the combustion engine is near. I'm probably not going to be in the industry any longer when it happens, but it's very close. No, it's basically three car generations away. So I think we will see combustion engines. I think with fun still going on for 2 generations, but then actually the new I think norms on emissions on CO2 exhaust emission laws will just drive out the heavy metal big blocks. The R's will find a difficult future actually just being with combustion engines. So next generation or the following generation of R models from Volkswagen will have electric combustion, and they will be fun to drive, and they will be extraordinary. So the end is nearer than we think. But actually, still, I would say for car lovers, you still have good time to explore combustion engines.
So probably when you take your pension, you'll take your V8 Touareg with you then?
I think it's one of the cars to keep. So I've clearly reserved mine. I tell you, I'm not letting go of that one. I think it's really showing what the Volkswagen team can do. We obviously have discussed, does it make sense to introduce a V8 diesel at this point in time? But we are convinced that actually that car lovers who want superior comfort, superior drive, long distance drive comfort, and accelerating drive will find this car really unique, and that's why we do it. We just want to have something unique in our hands. It's not going to be the only car I take with me into pension, but clearly the one to have.
Maybe this one also a beach buggy for holidays?
Yes, I think this car is still a concept. We are exploring 2 things with this car. Again, quite unique for the industry. Volkswagen has decided, in order to really commit to 2050 being zero emission, we can't do it ourselves, so we have to widen our platform. So we want to give our platform, our basic development, to smaller car companies, smaller entrepreneurs that actually put shells on the car. It reminds you of the 60s. It has happened before. The original Dune buggy was created on a Beetle platform, and it was created by different companies. In total, 250,000 cars were built with unique shapes on that car. So this is actually almost like a restart of this original idea. We would provide mass producible, high quality as a componentry from the MEB electric kit, and these companies would actually produce shells like the ID buggy actually on top of the car. So we're testing now with some of the entrepreneurs basically around Europe, basically who could be a potential partner, what kind of concept car could be explored. This one actually has our already a hot number of friends. I think, as we heard tonight during the interviews, is a car you don't have to have, but once you have it, you will never let go of it. It's again, yeah, you want to be seen in this thing. It's very unique. It's clearly not a first car of the family, not a family car, but it's something that shows that Volkswagen stays true to its origins, to do volume, to do mass, to do the big global market share, but again have the heart for smaller volumes, very unique vehicles.
Maybe also an e-Scirocco?
Well, I think the e-Scirocco, probably, I have my doubts that actually an e-Scirocco makes sense, but a hot hatch, a hot car on an electric platform is clearly a must-have. So the team from Jos Capito on the R GmbH are already working on how to conceptualize a performance car based on an electric kit. It's quite easily doable. They're showing the Extreme now with the IDR. It's going to, I think it's going to evaporate a few more records around the world before actually people realize that electric car driving is really, really fun and really fast. Clearly our idea of having hot cars, mass manufactured with high quality, will continue, and it will go electric sooner or later.
Thank you so much. And well, if it's a V8 Touareg or a small electric buggy, it's your choice. Which one would you take? I know which one he is taking. And now to the conclusion for today with the Touareg V8 TDI. When does a V8 still make sense? Well, you don't really need it, but some just want it because the V6 diesel is just fine. We tested it earlier and also has enough torque and performance and so on. And the diesel in general still makes sense if you have a big car with high consumption, and also if you're going very, very long kilometers, because if you compare, for example, electric vehicles and the diesels, when they're running really, really long routes and have to be refueled and so on, then the diesels still have an advantage. And the shorter the ways are going, the more city traffic you have, then the electric cars are definitely more sustainable. So we are also in the transition phase there at the moment. How it plays out, consumption V8 versus V6, I'm not exactly sure if this one will have a higher consumption, because you can also drive it at a lower torque. But then again, it also adds some more weight, but really looking forward how that one plays out. And for example, with the V6 diesel, sometimes there was some, not exactly sure if it's turbo lag, but people feel it as turbo lag. Sometimes also from the shifting, for example. That probably will be then not the case for the V8, that you just have some more power reserves. Well, it's not a racing machine, but the performance figures here for the V8 TDI rather speak for that. So what do you think? V8 TDI, is it still something for today? Is it something you want? Or would you say it's already something from the past and they should rather and then focus on electrification? But as we heard, they are also focusing on electrification. So there are different trends going on at the moment. Still some old school stuff, but also a lot of new electrification. That's also clear on this year's Geneva Motor Show.